So anyways, we'll just start, and could we have both of you introduce who you are, what's your name, just a little bit of background about yourselves.
I'm Tracy. I work for Columbia, Missouri, and the Columbia Housing Authority's food pantry. I've been there going on 2 years now. Before that, I worked for the Missourian, and like we discussed, I'm a prior vet too, so you know, it's basically about all I got. You know,
I'm Rebecca. Tracy is my husband. I also go down there to the food pantry to help him on truck days and help hand out the food to people that might need it. We've got 4 kids together. That's about all I got.
Just to start on the topic of hunger, how would you define hunger?
how would I
What is
define
hunger?
it? I would define hunger as really a low source of either an income base or not enough food to go around. It's a variety of a lot of things I look at. You know, it's the size of the family, how much you're bringing in, how much you're, supplying for the family on the table. You know, I've seen it quite a bit down at work. You know, I see it on the streets. I've seen a lot of people out there on the streets, that are my friends, sitting there begging, for like change or something. You know, it's also got to deal with like the workforce market. Work is scarce right now, so you got to really find something to do, and if you can't, then that's where the hunger comes into, I believe. But to me, it's all kinds of different aspects that contribute to one thing. To me, that's technically the way I see it. Other people might see it a different way, but I look at it as one step after another, or just a lot of different little things adding up to where you just can't take care of the family. So, I mean, that's basically all I can come up with that one. So, I mean, unless you can pinpoint what you've seen or know.
That's basically what I thought of that too.
So on a day-to-day basis, how do you guys experience hunger, and where do you see it around the community?
I usually see it when I'm out walking around, especially downtown here. A lot of people out there, asking for, money, something to eat, or they'll come down to work. Like last week I had a lady come in. She was just, what was it, Maine?
Yeah.
She came through from Maine. She just moved in down with her mom. Had like 2 or 3 kids with her and just starting over. And I just told her, I said, I can't, really help you out much, but I'll give you what I can. And it just, stuff like that, just kind of nerve-wracking. But on our part, we don't really deal with it at our house because I budget with my paychecks and everything like that. So, I make sure everything's taken care of first, and then, what's left over is ours. But the food, the rent, everything, I got to take care of first. Those are my main priorities, like my little kids. So, I mean, but, we don't experience it at our place, but a lot of people, your father-in-law, or your father and my father-in-law, they're, how do I want to say it? They like all the expensive stuff. So, and then when we try to give them pointers on going a little bit less or cheaper, you know, they don't want to abide or listen. They just want to get what they want, and no matter what the cost, and by the end of the month, they're already struggling. And it's like, I told you guys, you know, you got to do it a certain way, or it's just not going to work out. You know, if you want to defeat hunger, you got to know how to play the game. You know, you got to know how to shop. You got to know how to feed your family and stuff like that. I mean, it's just common sense to me.
Do you have anything to add, Rebecca?
No.
You've said that for lots of people that face hunger, that's not really what they would say is the main problem in their life. Like there's a lot of things that come together and then there's hunger. Can you just explain what you mean by that?
Okay, what I was trying to explain is hunger deals with money and it deals with food, basically, correct? So let's say you got a family of 10, okay? 8 kids and 2 adults, okay? And the man is the only one working, and he's got to pay the rent, he's got to pay the utilities, he's got to pay, you know, water, then he's got to come out and buy food for his family. And if he's only working a part-time job, how's he going to do all that? That's where the hunger, to me, is coming in, which I see a lot. And, you know, and with them, that's the way they had it set up. She was going to be the homemaker, you know, take care of the house and the kids, and he was going to be the one working. But then they're struggling because they got so many kids that they can't support, you know, to feed them. And then they got to come and see me at work. And then they try to wipe me out so they can feed their kids. And I'm like, you know, I got other families I got to feed too, not just yours. You know, I can give you what I can, but I'm not going to give you all you want. You're going to have to make what I give you last you. But, you know, it just comes down to that. I mean, if you're the only, if you're a double family with kids, both parents actually has to work to make it survive. To get off, you know, the hunger trip, you know, to, you know, a lot of things, you know, and plus hunger. If your kids aren't fed good enough, you know, well nutrition, they're not going to do good in school. They're going to go to school lagging, they're, you know, tired, you know, not full of energy. So if they get going with a good breakfast, you know, and stuff like that, then they're going to, you know, function in school. But if they don't have that, they're going to more or less fail in school. That's the, you know, what I've been seeing too.
Yeah, you both said that budgeting was the main way that you can avoid feeling the consequences of hunger.
Yeah.
Were there experiences in your life that led you to learn that, or how did that come about?
Yeah, when we first got together, after we had our first kid, we experienced it quite a bit until I actually learned how to start budgeting and found like we used to shop like Gerbs, Walmart, until we decided, you know, let's try like Aldi's, Mosier's, you know, get the cheaper stuff. It's still the name brand, but it's a little bit cheaper. And once we figured out if we can go cheaper, we can get more for the same price as we do with, you know, main stuff, and then we can survive through the month or whatever. And it took me about what, 3-4 months to actually get my budget straight. But then after that, then I took that on till after, you know, we had our 4 kids, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm still on a part-time job, you know, I'm bringing home X amount of money every 2 weeks, you know, and that's got to go for this and it's got to go for that, plus I got to get my kids. So with my budgeting that I learned earlier in my life, it helped me out now with what I have now. And that's why I tried to spread it out, saying, hey, you got to learn from your mistakes. You got to learn how to really dig down and budget. You know, your food, your house, your utilities, you got to have all that if you want to have kids. And if you're going to have kids, you got to have all the above. If you don't have none of the above, your kids ain't going to stay in your house. So if your kids are your priority, then you gotta go with steps 1, 2, and 3. You know, your house, your mortgage, your payments, whatever. And then your kids come right after that. But if you don't take care of your house and whatever, you can't take care of your kids.
So for both of you, what was that transition like from learning those first steps and then being to where you are now? How has that changed over time, do you think?
You wanna take that?
Well, growing up in my household, what we did, we went to Mosher's or Gerb's to do our shopping. We had a set grocery list every month that we would go and pick up. Unless there was like a holiday like Christmas or Thanksgiving, then we'd have a few extras. And my parents had taught me when I became a teen, if you start budgeting, beginning of the month, or figure out what you do need, and leave out the expensive stuff, leave out what you don't need right off, and you could be able to last throughout the rest of the month.
You know, my family, you know, we was pretty well set up anyways, but we always did our shopping at Aldi's. That's where we always mainly did our shopping at. Even when I was a little kid, I remember going to Aldi's and shopping, so. You know, I got tired of it. When I started getting older, I started going like Gerb's and stuff like that just for my own stuff, but, you know, it taught me that, you know, the reason they was doing it, you know, we had a family of 6 also, so, you know, we had to survive, you know, provide for all of us, you know, with, you know, throughout the whole month. So, you know, Aldi's was a better deal, so I started picking back up that routine, and I found out, you know, even in my teens and early 20s that, you know, that was a good deal, you know, that they taught me. But then, you know, I started slacking off, going back to the other stores and blowing more, and then I'm like, the change ain't worth it, you know. You get the same quality, you get more if you pay less. So what, you know? You know, you might look like, you know, a bum or a hoodlum going into a cheaper store, you know, or whatever, but you know what? You're still getting fed, you know. And I kind of brought that up, you know, to a lot of people, and then, like I said, when we hooked up, you know, we had different tastes. She likes steaks, and I'm like, no, I don't do steaks, and I like burgers, so we're like, okay, let's figure out something different. So every other month I would give her steak, and then I would go without. And then, you know, then after, you know, we got married and stuff like that, then we just compromised, you know, you get what you want one month and we'll go back with the other, and then, you know, but we'll still budget in and leave out a lot of the extras that we used to get to compromise for what we did get. And we still use that to today after almost 12 years. So, I mean, there was a few times that we barely hung on during the month, but that was like holidays and stuff like that, you know, where I make big meals. She does a normal cooking, but when it comes to the holidays, I do that. That's my forte. So I just, you know, kind of, how can I say it, try to give wisdom to other families to kind of stretch out the budget by going to, you know, the less expensive stores. But, you know, whether they listen or not, that's on them, but I try to help them out the best I can, even though I'm working at a food bank. So it just, and like you said, you know, we're, you know, growing up and stuff, it, you know, it helped me out, so that's why I'm trying to spread everything out to everybody else, you know, so we can kind of, you know, not really kill the project, but, you know, put a foot down on the hunger. I mean, I'm like you guys, I want to stop it. You know, I want to try to get to the bottom of it, but it takes more than us. You know, it takes word of mouth, it takes them to start in, and then after they start, then they can spread the word, you know, after they get on their feet. But, you know, it's typically, you know, pretty well the way it was and how it is now.
we've been talking about just how you've been able to overcome the problem of hunger in your own lives,
Mhm.
but before you had figured that out, and maybe even other people that you know, how does it feel, how did you feel when you were seemingly stuck in hunger and you had no way to get out?
To me, I felt like a lowlife, begging for food, going to like Salvation Army for lunches, or the fish and loaves, you know, for, you know, like a little dinner or whatever, just somewhere to grab something to eat. You know, I felt low. I rejected, you know, that I didn't belong or I didn't fit. And to me, I took it to heart. I mean, it really hurt. And then I couldn't get out of that rut. I couldn't figure out how to get out of it. I tried to work, and then even when I worked, I had back child support I had to pay, which was taking all my paychecks, so I wasn't able to get money. And then when I tried for food stamps, they said I made too much, and I'm like, I'm not bringing nothing home. How am I supposed to eat? And they're like, well, we go by your gross income. I'm like, God, you know, I can't win for losing here. You know, I work to support myself, but then the state wants to take it all, but they won't give nothing back. And I dug and I dug, and I finally got my way out to where I got a better paying job. I went to court, and then they started backing off the child support a little bit to where I had some extra money. And then when I started buying my own groceries, then if a buddy of mine needed some money, I'd give him either what I had, or I'd let him have some of my stuff, my groceries. And then I told him what to do if he was in the same boat, and then it went from him to like 3 or 4 others, and then we became a little party. And you know, like the AA meetings and stuff like that, we had our own little group that we kind of started, and then we started bringing other people in to kind of get them motivated. And then that's what got me really excited about, you know, kicking this habit, you know, kicking what I didn't need, what I did need. And eventually I got on my feet. But it took me, God, what was it, about 2 years, I believe, to actually dig out of that. And that's why I'm really trying other people, you know, to get them in the right direction and off their, you know, and get on their feet a little more. But I don't know, it was trifling. I mean, it was, I don't know, it was, I didn't like myself back then, you know. And I even went around, you know, asking for help from like the veterans. They wouldn't do nothing, so I had to do it on myself. So, you, no? Okay.
What do you think are some common misconceptions about hunger?
I want to say probably because people don't really understand it or care to understand what it is. In my point, I see a lot of people, you know, not just starting out, but got like young kids and stuff like that, and they're driving around in all these brand new cars with the stereo in them and the wheels on them and stuff like that, and then they're wanting food because they don't have the money to support them. You know, to me, you know, if your car's more important than your kids, then, you know, there's something wrong. You know, they don't understand, you know, the money they put in that car could go to their kids, but they don't want to understand that. They want to ride. That's what it is. And you know, a lot of parents don't care enough to, I don't know, support the kids, I guess, in a way. They just want the kids, is the way they look at it. They want the family, but they just don't want to take care of them. They rely on other people to do it for them. If that's good enough for you.
Like with us, we put our kids first. We don't own a car by choice. It's too expensive. The insurance, the gas, the maintenance on the car. we either walk where we gotta go or we take the bus if it's too cold for the kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, over our conversations that we've had, one of the things you've told us is you've actually had previous experiences with the media. Could you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. I've had quite a few people stop me down here on what was it, Broadway, and they was over here at the university also, and they just come up and say, you know, who they were, and you know, if they could, you know, like take a picture, you know, of me walking down the street, or just an interview, but they wouldn't say who they, you know, was working for. Sometimes they did, and it's just like, you know, your perspective, you know, coming at somebody is, you know, totally wrong. I said, if you want to grab somebody's attention, don't just sit there and just jump out in front of them and say, hey, can you do this for me? Say, hey, I am so-and-so from such and such, and we're doing a story, or I'm doing a project. Would you care to, you know, help me out? If you would come out in a forum like that, you know, instead of just jumping out in front of somebody and saying, hey, I'm doing this, would you be glad? No, nobody's going to do that. But if you're upfront with them and nice and easy with them, most times they will help you out. But to me, I've had people just come right out at me and with stupid stuff, not even saying who they was or who they was working for, just something stupid. And it's just like, come on, dude, I ain't got time for this. I said, what are you for? Who are you with? And what, you know, what's going on? And they sit there and just ramble. And it's like, if you're in school and you're trying to do something, find you a better pitch. This one's not working. And you know, and sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I mean, sometimes they take it to heart, and you'll find them later on sitting down, writing down what they need and what they did wrong, and try to figure out a new speech. But you know, and just perspective on how a person acts. Like when you two gentlemen came down to my work, for some reason when you walked in, I just felt easy with y'all. You know, y'all told me who you was, where you was from, what you was doing. And it was just an atmosphere that was easy to set in. I didn't have no problems with you all. And it was just a comfortable atmosphere. You know, that's what I look for. If I don't get it, I want to tell you no. You know, that is the way I look at things.
I agree with you there, dear.
So, I mean, other than us down at the food pantry, have you had any other experiences with maybe other media or students coming in there?
No other media coming down besides you guys. I forgot. I don't recollect anybody else coming in and doing interviews like that.
Could you share a specific story of when a reporter came up to you and everything went wrong? One that you can
Okay. I'm not going to give the name, but he was at MU. And he was doing some kind of photography class. And he was up there by US Bank up there on Broadway. Just sitting on that little ledge there. And I was walking down east on Broadway, and he seen me walking there, just minding my own business, and he jumped up and just got right in my face and said, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm doing pictures, and would you mind if I take one? I'm like, say, what? Why would you want a picture of me for, dude? And he's like, well, I just need one. I'm like, no, not unless you tell me why. He goes, well, it's confidential. And I'm like, well, then you can forget it. And so later on, I caught back up with him, and he had somebody else with him. I'm like, what's going on? I said, you stopped me for a picture. Why? And he's like, well, I don't need to tell you. I said, yeah, you do. You need to tell me what you're doing, or I'm going to report you. One of the two. And he's like, well, I'm with photography at the MU. and we're doing like pictures for some kind of film we're doing or whatever, just photography class. And I was just wanting to try to get a picture of you walking as, you know, to get a moving picture. And I'm like, well, if you would have came out with that in the first place, I might have let you do it. But when you came at me strong and hard, no. I said, you're going to have to learn the hard way. If you're going to come at somebody, you're going to have to come at them with respect. I said, I'm a U.S. vet. I expect respect out of people. I give it back, or I will give it, and I expect it in return. And he's like, well, I'm sorry. And I'm like, well, I am too. Hopefully you have a better day. And I let him at that, and then for some reason I just wanted to keep an eye on him, you know, just see how he was doing. He was having the day of his life over there. He brought it to a different perspective. He was taking pictures, and I walked up to him later on that afternoon and I asked him, I said, did the little speech help you? He goes, yeah, thank you. I said, you're welcome. And he goes, well, I wouldn't have came at it in a different way if it wouldn't have been for you. I'm like, it don't take common sense to approach a person. I mean, they teach you that in journalism, they teach you that in any type of school, you know, photography, you know, anything. If you want to meet people, you got to earn how to respect that person, not just run up on them. And, you know, he said he had a good day after I had to talk with him, so, you know, to me, you know, that's what helps. I mean, if you can give out advice and it helps out a person like that, then, you know, it's just up to them to take it hard, you know. But yeah, I've had numerous people besides him do that. And who was that? We had one we met up with that had a movie camera and was taking videos of downtown and caught us in it. And I walked up to them and asked them what they was doing, and they said they was doing some kind of video. And I asked them, I said, if this is on television, I do not want my kids involved. I said, if I see my kids on here after I ask you to take them off, I am going to report it. And they're like, okay, we will take that off. I said, I don't care if you get me and the wife in there, but the kids do not go on any pictures. And so, it just, things like that, you know, they hesitated at first not to do it, but then I told them I don't want it on there. And there will be problems if there was, and they finally agreed that they wasn't going to do it, they wouldn't allow it, so. But, you know, it's, you know, a mixture of people out there from, you know, different, you know, genres of the school or other schools that do that. And others I can't really remember, but those were the only two that I can actually think of, you know, other than you guys. But what about you? When you did your solo walks?
I hadn't had anyone come up to me.
Okay.
What do you both think are some stories that are usually missed in the media coverage about hunger? What do we overlook? What does the media overlook about hunger?
No, that is a good question. Oh, you had to put me on the spot on that one, didn't you?
Take your time.
Honestly, on that one, I think they're doing a pretty good job on it myself, because they always participate with like Channel 8 and all of them. They participate with the food hunger drives. They get it out on the news media. I mean, they do a good job on that. So I really can't say if they're doing a bad job or they're missing anything. To me, I think it's right where they should be. I mean, but if they can come up with something else, you know, then that's fine. But right now, I think they're doing what they can with it. With, you know, like I said, the food drives and stuff. So, I mean, Yeah, that's pretty well what they're doing is a good job for now.
We were talking before about how it's really hard to get deep into hunger, whether it be just because sources aren't willing to open up, or as journalists, lots of times the reporters don't exactly have the access to the areas where they would find their subjects.
You're talking about that day I told you people are like onions,
Sure.
right?
Yes.
Like on Shrek, Shrek says onions got that core. Same way with human beings, okay? We got that onion core. You start peeling the layers, you get down into the inside of that human being, right? That all comes down to being you, okay? If you want to, talk to somebody, get them to open up about their life and their hunger, you got to start with that first layer. You got to be easy with them, you got to be gentle, you got to hold them like a baby, basically, treat them like a little baby. You got to, get into, I guess, their frame of mind, get to know them, and then go from there, ask them questions, like you all did with me, about, hunger, what do we think about it, stuff like that. And if they don't want to open up, then there's something wrong, don't push the issue. But if they're like, yeah, okay, we'll talk, and if they want to sit there and just keep talking and talking, the more you get them to open up about it, the more that onion's going to peel, and you're going to get down into the center of why they might be having hunger problems. They might, in the center of it, they just might not want to reveal any more than just the top few layers of, maybe it's a job issue, or the rent went up or something like that, but maybe that's as far as they want to go, is like the first 3 layers. And then they don't want to go no farther because it's too personal. There are people out there that will open up all the way. I've dealt with that, and I've made a few friends like that. I've made them completely open up. And that the first step is, like I said, you got to be easy with the individual with certain topics. Hunger might be a hard issue for them. They might not want to talk about. Some might want to go as far as you want to go with it, but it depends on how you guys interact with them and how far they want to go. That's pretty well how I see it.
So basically, for some journalists, they're handed a story idea, and for a topic such as hunger, there's much more to it. So I know you said it's all about the way we approach it. So for example, if we had approached it the same way when we first met, would you have been comfortable doing an interview with us that day? Or how do you
What, the
think
first day down at work?
that we met you, like if we had asked for an interview that day?
Oh, if it was like on the street or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you would approach me like you did down at work, the same way, easy and everything, nice and polite. Yeah, I would have gave you like 15, 20 minutes and talked to you about it. Yeah, I would have. I mean, you guys, like I said, it depends on it depends on the individual, okay? On how they approach, on if I want to accept it or not. Like you guys was easy going about it. I felt comfortable with it. But if you guys would have came in for say and said, hey, we're doing a story on this and that, not even give me your names or where you worked at, just said, hey, we're doing a story on hunger, would you participate? And if I would have asked you, well, where do you guys work at, what's your all's name, so I can keep it in mind, and if you said, that's okay, we really don't want to discuss that, I would have told you to hit the door. Because if you don't want to give a name and where you're working at, to give me a little bit more of a background on you all, I'm not going to give you no time. If that kind of helps you out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it all depends on the individuals. Like if I approached you about something, I want to be as easy as I can. I'm going to be as nice as I can. And if you guys don't have the time, then y'all don't have time.
Something that we've noticed is that lots of journalism stories about hunger are based on institutions maybe it's the food pantries that are in town, or like this or that, people volunteering there, and lots of times it misses the point. And I was just curious, do you think that is what happens oftentimes, and how would we, more than just, it's getting to the root of the people and not the institution, and how do you think we go about doing that?
Okay, so basically you're wanting to know how to get into a person without having to go to like a food bank, right?
Do you think that's a problem, that too many stories, too oftentimes the media coverage goes through the institution and not just straight to the people that are impacted?
I'd say that's a 50-50. Because you might have some businesses that don't want to talk about it, and then you got some that do, and it's the same way with people. You got some people that will talk and some that won't. But trying to get into a person, like I said earlier, it's hard. I mean, you're going to have them willingly open up about the hunger. It doesn't matter if you're, about the institutions where the hunger is, or if it's on the street. It doesn't matter. You can even go down to my work, and if you ask somebody down at my work about hunger, most of the time they're not really going to talk to you or anything. But, I made a lot of friends down there, and they've opened up to me, so it depends on who you are. Like you guys are in journalism, they might be scared to talk to you. That might be the main thing right there. They might be scared to talk to journalism people because of personal issues. Because nothing out of the way or in the wrong way, but the way they'll look at it is journalism doesn't understand what they're going through with the hunger. You guys get the textbooks, you get the notes, you guys play the field, but y'all don't live it, is the way they're going to look at it. That's probably going to be one of your hardest things to do, if you see what I'm saying. With me, since I work at a food bank, it's easier for me to get people to talk about it. But it all comes down to that individual. And then plus, like I said, with y'all in journalism, you guys might have a hard time getting somebody to open up.
If you all could just think for a moment now, what is a story about hunger that you can think of off the top of your head that you've never seen reported? What is something that just goes under the radar? What's a story that journalists might be interested in that they've never covered?
That journalism never covered?
Sure.
Oh.
Media coverage.
Oh, media. Okay.
That's a tricky question.
Yeah, or even if you can think of like a subject, like a part of hunger that is just never really brought up in media coverage. I
keep wanting to say something about like, what is it? The thing they have over at Gerbs, the produce thing over there. A lot of people don't really go to that. They either don't have a way over there for the produce over there, or really don't have, the funds for it. And I think that's another reason there's, the hunger thing, is because they're way west of town and a lot of people can't get out there. They need something closer like they did when they was over here at, over here in Worley by the health department. To me, I heard a lot of places saying that was close to them, especially the ones in housing. But out at Gerbs, they don't have the way out there. It's way too far to go. I think that's another issue. They need to bring it back east a little bit, in my perspective. That way, it would help out a little bit more. Or better yet, if they could bring it out here to where like Lucky's is, up here in Providence, if they can ask them to do like a small one out there in our parking lot, I think that would help. And that'd be something for journalism to cover also on the hunger is, you know, if they can get a hold of them, you know, or go out there and talk to them and, you know, see how they, you know, deal with, you know, the hunger and stuff like that. I think that would be a good step for you guys also, if y'all haven't done that. And I think they're only doing it, what, Saturdays?
Yeah, I think Saturday mornings.
9 to
is
noon
what-
or something like
Yeah,
that?
9 to noon. Now, from what I've heard is they do accept the stamps, cards, or you can pay cash. Like you can pay $5 and they'll double. You get $10 worth of produce at the farmers markets.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So, I mean, yeah, if you guys can, you know, take time out of a Saturday, you know, to go out there this summer or whatever when they do it or fall, might help you guys out a little bit more with your all's schooling here, you know, or, you know, your learning process, whatever you want to call it. But,
I think the farmers markets is already started back over there by Gerbs.
has it? Okay.
I think so.
But, you know, I mean, that'd give you guys a little bit more insight too, since it's not really an institution, it's an open area. So, I mean, you know, I mean, it's a shot. I mean, if you guys want to try that too.
Yeah. So, what do they do with the farmers market? Like, I mean,
It's,
how do they do that more?
It's a bunch of farmers that bring in like corn, radishes, a lot of produce, you know, fruits, veggies, and they set them out on tables, and then you just walk through and get a bunch of it and then pay it as you go, like at a regular store. But this is fresh. They're bringing in every week. When they come up to the market, they bring in new stuff every week, fresh. And like she said, you can either use the stamps or you can use cash. And usually when we walk by, we see a big crowd, but you know, I don't go in and see if I know anybody, or, you know, I don't make it my business, but I do see they do have a big turnout.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
It seems like hunger is only ever covered when something big is happening, or when there's like an event, like a food bank, something's going on and a report goes out. Do you think hunger should be reported on daily or more frequently?
Yeah, I would say a little bit more on I don't know how much you guys write for the hunger, or you see that on the media, but to me, I think maybe, I don't know, twice a month might be good, you know, because you barely see it maybe once a month, unless, like I said, Channel 8 does a food drive or something like that, or the mail's doing something, you know, then they'll announce it. But at least twice a month would be good, you know, just to get the word out about things. And you know, like she said, the farmers market, you know, try to draw crowds in. I was just on the net last week, Thursday, and I found out starting this year, and 16, didn't say what month, but there's really going to be a big hunger problem now. You guys are going to have your hands full if you want to keep continuing with this hunger. The nation is dropping between 500,000 to 1 million customers off of food stamps. And the only regulations on that, from what I read, is you got to have either children in the house, you got to be in some kind of school or a training school, 18 to 49,
Yeah.
or disabled. And they give you a 3-month grace period if, you know, you're not working or able to work and you're not working and stuff like that. So they're really going to hit the nail on the head with this hunger now. I know they're trying to push people to work, but, you know, if you're going to push 1 million people off of stamps, there ain't that many jobs out there, especially here in Missouri. I mean, technically there's not, you know, and, you know, what's going to happen, you know, and also I heard that, this is just between us, okay? I heard that the food banks are gonna start liquidating or thinning out what they give out now, so they can keep up with the demand, which ain't gonna help either. It's gonna cause more problems. To me, I see more problems coming in. You know, you're gonna see theft, you're gonna be seeing, you know, all kinds of stuff coming in just to feed the kids. And to me, I think it's a big mistake. You know, keep the stamp, you know, keep it the way it is, but give them at least 6 months to find a job. You know, who don't qualify, you know, who don't have a job, who's not technical, who don't have kids, who's not disabled. You know, if you're bodied able to work, then give them a 6 months grace period to find a job. And then if they don't, then cut them off little by little until they're completely off. That's the way I would do it. But see, I see things in a lot different than everybody up there in DC does, so. But, anything else?
Yeah, just to recap, everything we've been talking about.
Yes, sir.
I'm just gonna come back to a question that's probably gonna just rehash some of what you've already said, but.
All right.
If you were to describe, what is the impact that hunger has had on your life?
The impact that it had on me, it basically showed me a way to get out and be productive. You know, support myself. If I wanted a family, you know, work towards that group. You know, get out of the hunger. You know, quit begging and start growing up. You know, you can't get nowhere if you're going to sit and beg. You ain't going to get nowhere if you ain't going to work. You know, life is too short. You know, you got to do something to get out of hunger. To me, when I was in my lowest part, getting myself on my feet, getting a job, getting my own place, and seeing things develop the way I wanted to, you know, and then I can start, you know, getting out of that hunger. And then once I was out of the hunger situation, I could pull my buddies in or people I didn't know and talk to them, get to know them and help them out and straighten them out a little bit, saying, hey, you don't need all that damn soda, okay? You need more of the other stuff that you know, like your meats and stuff like that. Soda is optional. You don't really need that unless you just want one, like on a hot day or something. But other than that, you need regular food. You know, cut the bad stuff, the candy, the sweets, and all that. And I said, try that for a month and come back and talk to me and see what we can do. And he came back and I think he was getting like 30, 35 a month. And he came back and he you know, this is when we had when they had the paper money. He threw a 20 in my hand and said, here. I'm like, what's this? Where? He goes, for helping me out. I said, how much do you get? And he told me, and I said, you got this left, and this is like towards the end of the month. I said, what have you been doing? He goes, I've been just going, like you said, to Aldi's, getting the cheaper stuff, you know, that will tie me over and quit buying the expensive stuff. I said, here, hold on to this. Just in case you want to splurge next month, you'll have a little extra to get you a couple of sodas. I said, I'm not going to take it. This is yours. I said, I'm just here for advice. And needless to say, he came back to me about 3 months later and said, my technique with him worked, and he was trying to help other people out. So me and him talked, and we got a little group going, and pretty soon we had like, 15, 20 people in a little group trying to help each other out, you know, with the do's and don'ts. And yeah, it was fun. I mean, I wish I could have kept it going, but, you know, I had to move on, you know, it just, you know, stuff I had to do. But once you hit that low, it's hard to get out, because it drains you, it just, I don't know, it makes you feel shallow. I felt disgraced. I'm like, you know, it didn't feel right, you know. So I had to wake up one day and say, enough's enough. you know, and go from there. And then it's just one step after another, and then, you know, after we got married, you know, just a lot more easier to manage, and, you know, we sit there and we talk about what we need, and we, you know, what we want. We write a list of what we need, and then we write a list of what we want. And, you know, we'll go to Mosier's, that's our main store, so we'll do our shopping there, and then if we got anything left over towards the end, we'll splurge on what we wanted, so. You know, but the kids, we get the stuff for the kids first, and then what we need. And then, you know, the kids and the household stuff comes first, so.
What about for you, if you had an answer to that? The impact
I
of
don't-
hunger?
I don't really have an answer to that.
Okay.
He's covered pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
The schools help out some families with buddy packs. They put soups in there. They put little cartons of milk that don't have to be refrigerated.
Raviolis.
Snacks, and it's not very much, but it's probably enough to make it through the weekend for the kids
Yeah.
that don't have that amount of food in their house. It's just that much more for them.
And then if some of the stuff our kids won't eat, they're picky, so I take it to work. And then the families with the kids, I give that to them to help them out. And a lot of the families, they'll sit there and thank you for it, or hell, I've had a bunch of them give me hugs. You know, just for making their day, you know, for help, you know, give a little bit more for the kids. I'm like, you know, that's just my job, but I got too deep to be friends with them that them giving me a hug is just normal for them now, just for helping them out, so it feels good.
Is there anything else about hunger that we haven't brought up today that you would want to say?
I can't. To my knowledge, I can't.
Well, I think on media they need to cover more on buddy packs. They need to say what they put in the buddy packs to be able to help the families say what it's for. They said do this for the school, for the kids, but they never say what it's for. So I think they should tell a little bit more, like this is help a kid through the weekend. When they don't have much, just to help out just that much more for their family.
For sure.
I agree.
Any other questions in there?
Thank you.
Wow, thank you all so
Yeah,
much.
welcome.
That's great.
Thank you.